Our next session is titled, How Successful Were Jordanian Companies in Driving Digital Transformation in Public and Private Sector? Please join me in welcoming the moderator, Mr. Majed Sifri, CEO of Optimiza. I think now nobody will forget the name, Optimiza. Also, I want to call Mr. Engineer Aiman Mazahreh, CEO of Specialized Technical Services, STS. Okay. Yes, and also we will call Rana Abuzaid Qubain, General Manager of Investment World for Development and Technology. Thank you for joining us.
Marhaba, ya'atikum al-afiyah. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you sticking around, especially after lunch. This is always a tough spot to be in. It's our pleasure to be with you today, and we have the privilege of having two leading individuals from the Jordanian digital transformation services industry sector. We, unfortunately, due to COVID, have lost three of our other panelists, mostly due to COVID, I believe. But this gives us a little bit more time to elaborate further with Aiman and Rana. In general, we were talking a bit earlier, and I think what we would like to try to do is emphasize on specific successes, not from a company point of view only, but also in terms of deployments of digital transformation projects as such. Before we do that, maybe I would like to start with, since we have the luxury of a little bit more time than we thought we would have, some background from you guys about the companies and yourselves, and then we start going into the digital transformation. We can start with you, Rana, maybe, and then...
Yes, my name is Rana. I have a company called Investment World for Development and Technology. We started this company in 2007. We started to invest in higher education and vocational education. We work with three streams in Jordan: higher education, vocational, banking industry, security and intelligence. These are the three main streams. Our specialty basically is in the data, how to manage data, manipulate data, link data, and data analytics. This is the power that we usually work on. Thank you.
Shukran. Abuzaid?
Thank you. Glad to be here and glad to see some faces that we don't see often, some good friends and colleagues. And some of them are actually ex-STS, and today they are CEOs of companies, which makes us proud and tells you how long have we been in the industry. STS was established in 1989 by four of us, my other three partners. And because of our technical background, being engineers, this is how we started doing what we call third-party maintenance, servicing different kind of computers at the time. Then we moved on and we started making partnership with some of what today is powerhouses in the IT, Microsoft, Cisco, IBM, Dell EMC, and few others. That took us through the 90s, and this is the time where we were system integrators. And this is where we started to grow the company from the 4 people up to today. Actually, we talk of 350 around the region. In 2000, we established an office here in Dubai. In 2008, in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. 2009 in Bahrain. And of course, we had Palestine since 1996. It's an office we're proud of, and it's been there since 1996. And the last one was in Erbil in north of Iraq. Being a system integrator and being in the hardware business and understanding the what I call the on-prem business took us to the next phase, which is basically the digital transformation. And in 2015, we started our digital transformation strategy, and we went into the cloud and security business, which I think we would be talking about a bit more. But this is a quick brief on SCS. Thank you.
Okay. I will also take privilege as a moderator to since we're only three, to talk about my company as well. I run a company called Optimiza, not Optimiza. We are a regional publicly listed digital transformation services platform. We do work across the region. We've had projects from Morocco, Egypt, Sudan, throughout the Gulf and the Levant. We're also similar size to STS in terms of we have around 350, 400 people right now. Last year we did around 100 million dirhams in revenue. We've had very significant digital transformation projects on public sector and private sector sides. So I might be jumping in here and there once in a while to add in terms of our experience as well. Let's go back and start with the definition of digital transformation as you see it, Aiman.
Okay, there are many definitions. If you look at Google and you look for digital transformation, you will see different definitions, but it's all about automating all your services. This is the simple definition of leaving the paperwork, and you automate every single process that you have either internally and this goes externally to your customers and so on. So this is our understanding of digital transformation, but there are many aspects to it. Like I said, in 2015, we started building our cloud services, and I think we are probably the first Jordanian company to build our own cloud, and we called it the STS Cloud, and it's now serving clients in Jordan and in the region. And once you deliver, or once you go to the cloud, one of the basic things you need to do is you need to make sure and secure, because these are transactions done out there, and as we know, the business of hacking is becoming very prominent lately. So we built our SOC, and SOC is the Security Operations Center, which monitors all the transactions that is being transacted by our clients. So those are the two pillars of our digital transformation on the external. Internally, we built what we call a digital workplace. With the pandemic, with working from home, we knew we need to create an environment where people can not just send emails, but they need to communicate with each other. So we started building our own product, which we called Engage, and it's a platform where the staff can actually engage in work, engage socially, even the chit-chat, which what I call the cooler chit-chat, when staff go by the cooler, they start talking about rumors and stuff. Now you can do it as well online through that platform. On the outside, we call it digital customer experience. And again, with that, we built our product called Insight, which is basically a CRM, where salespeople can communicate through that platform. And I have the Setco CEO here, and I consider them a digital customer interface, basically deploying kiosks that are smart kiosks to facilitate transactions. And some of it even are not just ticketing, it's linked with financial transactions. So the four pillars for us, when you ask about digital transformation, it's cloud, security, digital workplace, and digital customer experience.
Excellent, thank you. Rana, perhaps you can share with us a little bit about your approach in implementing digital transformation programs, and maybe, if you can, to the extent you're able to, give us some examples.
Actually, the way we look at every client, we'd like to imagine how this organization works. We look at their systems, their operation, their experience, their people. Then we will study the vision and the target they would like to achieve. Having understanding this, we analyze the business of the as-is situation. How is this operation? Where we need to do optimization? How do we handle the gap analysis? And we work with them with tracks. Project, we call it like a roadmap or tracks. These tracks, the people track, the process track, the technology track, and the data track. Within the people track, we found that most of the organizations, when you are talking about the data, quality of data, they need to understand what you are doing. So they have to be part of the process, and you need to understand the gap that they need, because we have to work with parallel training at the same time. So they will be understanding the different knowledge that they have to work with in terms of the tools they will be using. And as well, another culture that they have to build within the organization, which is the services. Because now it's all about digital clients and the experience from the client side. So the employees themselves, they have to change the way they work and the way they function, plus analyzing the different gap analysis. So this is on the people track. On the process side, we use different tools for the process in order to check the different optimization that we can do in order to reach where the clients wants to reach. Whether this processes, can save time, can provide more accurate information, can link the data that they want to see in order to have a proper decision making. All these processes, once we finish it, we have to make sure that it is available for the next stage. Next stage in terms of analysis of the data. Do we need later on to do more of a predictive analysis? Will it take into consideration the expansion of that organization? Once we go into the technology track, the technology depends a lot on which organization, where they want. For example, if it is more of a contextual analysis data, the different tools that we will use, depending on the data, the different sources we will take this data, and how we can link this data and standardize it or put it in one platform in order to do all of the link analysis that they need. Because in some of our projects, what we do in the technology and the data, we analyze the contextual. It's not like the banking industry between crushing numbers and, no, it's analyzing the context. For example, you take the different reports for one of the banking clients. They like to do as part of their Know Your Client, they would like to analyze about the client in the media, not what you know in terms of filling figures. So they take the open source platforms, we do crawling of this content, analyze it based on a certain criteria and certain facets. And this is how we can link these people together to tell them more details about the clients that they would like to use. So these are the different technologies that we use depending on the client. Now, when it comes to data, this is usually is the biggest dilemma. Because the accuracy of the data, especially when you are talking about historical data, it's a little bit for us and for the client, because nowadays everything depends on the data. You have to make sure it is accurate. How do you clean it? How do you verify the quality of the data? Once you tackle that, the types of the different data As well is another issue, whether this data is geolocations data, is it a contextual data, is it from an open source that you would like to analyze, plus the normal reporting and checking that it is for their own work, and how we can put all of this data in a centralized location that you will be able to search and you do your predictive analytics and use it later on for AI or whatever this institution would like.
Thank you, Rana. Aiman, in terms of your experience in implementing specific data transformation projects and digital transformation projects, can you share some of that experience, please?
Some of it is new to us, as you know, but it's always something you learn as you go forward with it. I would say having the partnership with some of the IT players in the region, the likes of Microsoft and IBM, had really helped us in getting our cloud up, if you wish. I remember back in, actually the whole story started in 2014. I was probably, I think, in Redmond in Seattle, attending a Microsoft executive meeting, and we, Microsoft partners, we were there, and the message was, you need to get on the cloud. And I came back home and I thought, wow, how are we going to convince our clients in Jordan that we need to go on the cloud? And how do I go and convince them that your data, I need to take your data and put it in my house? Surprisingly, I have made a tour with the CEOs of banks and companies in Jordan. I found good reception to it. So now that there is reception, now that there's acceptance to the idea, you need to go and build it. And I was here in Dubai attending an IBM conference, and again, the same message came in the cloud, and I met with some of the IBM people. I think Bashar was there at the time, and this is how it started. And we got help from them and some of our, to really build the cloud and bring the stack up. And then you start training your staff and your people on how to do it. The other thing that is I found a challenge in implementing, and again, you touched upon it, is the culture and the mindset. You know, we as humans, we know we're creatures of habit, and having to change the way you do your work, whether internally or externally, is always a challenge. So this was one of the things that we started doing in the company, is to build programs to change the mindset and the culture. And this is something that we started years back, and we're still ongoing. Because, you know, it takes months and years to change the mindset, to have people work differently. These culture programs are you know, like I said, it's ongoing. And it's like what I call the Pepsi Cola ad. You know, you don't need an ad on TV to remind you that you need to, if you're thirsty, you need a Pepsi Cola, but putting it on TV all the time will make press on the message. And this is what we do internally by having those messages on the emails, on the screens, and within the company. The other challenges, like I said, is convincing the customers to take some of their data and put it on the cloud and actually taking it out from them. But again, as time progresses, there's less resistance to it, and there's more acceptance to it in Jordan and the region. And I think the idea of a hybrid model is a very appealing model to most of them.
I mean, internationally, in fact, right? I think the latest study I read, something in the high 70s, close to 80% of the anticipated utilization strategically in the next 5 to 10 years will continue to be hybrid models. Very few people will be pure cloud, and very few people will continue to be on-prem only. Rana, to take this back into the Jordan context, we were talking earlier about how you see Jordan as the ability of Jordan to be a digital transformation hub. Can you share some thoughts around that?
I always believe in the brains of the Jordanians. In Jordan, we had a growth of 6% this year in the IT industry, which was maybe the best. As they mentioned during the previous sessions, there was a lot of that we are penetrating, or we are leaders in the fintech, in gaming, mobile apps. But what I feel is different now, and it is very important, is the skills mapping that Jordan is working on. And we will see this improving the outcome of our educational system as well in the industry. Because when you work on a qualification framework, within a proper qualification framework, you will be able to set per skill or per job, what are the skills needed? Are these skills up to the level? Do you have the right certification? Is the outcome of our higher education mapping the need of the market? Previously, we did not have this data. We used to have the different educational program or the standard bachelor degrees, but it was not really directed or mapped with the market and the needs of the market. Now we are having this studied in the past 2 years. DigiSkills will be working on this from now on. We're already seeing some of the results of the 6 months training, 3 months training that are directed if you want to be, for example, a Java developer, or you would like to work on a Python, depending on the route you would like to take. And it's not only what you write on your CV. It's exactly, do you have the real qualification, how much practice you've done? And the universities this year, they approved a new bachelor degree for digital transformation. 1 or 2 schools, universities, they have an AI program. And this outcome, once it is mapped with a proper qualification set, it will be much easier for any investor or a local company. Once you need a resource, this data will be in a pool that you will be able to say, I need a certain skill set of, for example, JavaScript or a Python developer or. You will be able to pick up these resources because there will be a centralized location for that.
I agree completely. There have been some very interesting initiatives in Jordan.
Yeah, I need to pick up on this point. And I need to share this with you. What I've seen following the pandemic and in the early months of this year, or toward the end of last year and the beginning of this year, once people started seeing that the pandemic is really slowing down, I've never seen in my 35 years such a huge demand on resources. Now, this is a headache for us owners of companies because you're losing resources that you've trained and so on. However, if, one has to carry 2 hats. One, the private hat, and one is the national country hat. And I think this is good for Jordan. And what amazes me is this time we're used to seeing demand on our resources from the region, from the Gulf, from the UAE, from Saudi Arabia. Now I've seen something else and different. We're seeing it from Europe, from the Netherlands, from the UK. I think because of Brexit, UK became in need of specialized resources, and especially if we're talking security. So this is a big, huge demand, which I think, one, speaks well for the Jordanian talent. Yes, it's an issue for us to train and so on. However, because we have a good educational system and because we have this continuous flow of graduates coming in, and what we do is actually what I call employ and have them on the bench. In a year time, or in a year and a half time, they'll be ready to replace the ones who leave. But there's definitely a huge demand for IT specialists that I haven't seen, really. And I think this is good news. This is good news for everybody.
I agree completely. But the point I wanted to touch on is there are some very interesting initiatives now in country. Pragmatic, short-term, highly focused initiatives that are beginning to make a difference for people like us who are looking for these resources. Initiatives supported by the World Bank, supported by the Europeans, supported by USAID, we are fortunate to get some international funding, and it's being directed at very aggressive programs. And some of these graduates are world-class people, especially those who have worked a bit and then went back into these programs. You get a multiplier effect in terms of their abilities and what they bring. We have very little time left. What do you see what is next for digital transformation in Jordan? Either one can jump in.
There's a lot coming up, definitely. We see the demand. We see many businesses in the region. They want to move from on-prem to the cloud. Data, you talked about data, open data, big data is really, there's more demand. Analytics is really coming up as well, and those are two tracks we're preparing for right now in STS to come up with the region because we see the demand. I think the opportunity is huge, and the pandemic opened eyes for a lot in the region that you need to think of different ways of doing business, and definitely digital transformation is the answer to all of the issues that we've seen through the pandemic. So I think for us in this industry, the opportunity is big, it's huge, and it's up to those who are getting ready for it. And I'm very optimistic about the future.
Rana, any thoughts?
In what is next, I think from the industry perspective, not from our company, cybersecurity is a key investment for everyone because protecting your data, your system is very, very important. It's utmost priority for everyone. As you mentioned, cloud and moving applications like software as a service, we will see this growing more and more. As a company, our main concentration is to move more into AI. We are working with AI, but we did not reach the stability into machine learning and deep learning. They need to gather a lot of data. It's not the data that you have today. It's the amount of data that you will get from the different sources. Now with the availability of IoT, the different media, the openness that we are having from the different industry, crawling this data, understanding everything that is coming, this will set the future of AI and how will AI be used, whether it is in the standard predictive analytics, which is very important for decision makers, as well as the machine learning and changing the way we think about of the processes. Because no matter what you do as a person, you can do certain type of analysis. But once you set the rules in order to understand this process, the optimization, how it works, you will start seeing results from a different perspective for you to look at.
Excellent, thank you. To try to wrap it all up at the end, I think we have been quite fortunate in Jordan to have been the home for so many successful companies in the digital transformation space. It's an exciting time to be there, but it's also an exciting time to be able to use those experiences in growing our footprints across the region and internationally. We have quite a few companies that have done incredibly well in this space, and we're hoping that others are coming up. We have a track record that is quite impressive, and we hope that together we can all build on that moving forward. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.